Do you know what Putin's war economy crown jewel is? Production of weapons. In Russian economic classification, it's called fabricated metallic items. We'll understand what metallic items are. This is what the state investments into production of fabricated metallic items look like for the last 4 years. In 2021, before the war, the investments into the fabricated metallic items were nearly zero, so insignificant that there was no reliable data that I could find. In 2022, first year of the war, the investments increased from 0 to 185 billion rubles. In 2023, second year of the war, the investments jumped by 85.5% compared to 2022. And in 2024, third year of the war, the investments increased by 36% compared to 2023. Such enormous increases every year. And no wonder, Russia needs more and more weapons. And Putin doesn't really count the money to beef up the weapons production. Well, he didn't count any money. Now, Russia needs weapons more than ever. It's not doing well on the front lines in Ukraine, so all the country's resources are thrown into the production of weapons. So what's the increase in investments in 2024? Well, in first quarter of 2025, what's the increase in investments in 2025 this year? In the first quarter of this year, there was a decline of 19% compared to the first quarter of 2023, which means that Putin has cut a huge deal of investments into his crown jewel. Wow! This is an act of economic desperation. And first economy anti-record today. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, you will not find here any lies, BS, or propaganda. Instead, you will find plenty of truth, common sense, and logic. Everyone who's watching me right now is obviously interested in learning of current state of Russian economy. Numbers and figures. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022, I started forecasting huge economic problems for Russia in the future. To me, it was a no-brainer. Russia depends on two bread-making resources for its economy. For its economy well-being, really. Oil and natural gas. And obviously, the bread-making exports were about to take a big hit. Then the expenses of Russian state would go up. Hey, waging a war on your neighbor cost a lot of money. Then the state would start seizing control of the economy, and we know what the state-controlled economy is. It's planned economy, it's called, and it just doesn't work. It's ineffective. All economic indicators fall when the state steps in and starts controlling the economy. Then there would be a huge decline in the workforce, both emigration from the country, more like exodus, and mobilization of able men to the war, to the front lines. And then there would be exodus of Western companies from Russia, international sanctions, financial sanctions, etc. And all that happened. It happened in the course of 3 years. Some things happened immediately after the start of the war. And for some things, it took quite a while to actually take effect. Now, all of what I've told you, it's a harsh reality of Russia and its economy now. And I call this phenomena the perfect economic storm over Russia, causing economic tsunami. It's taken 3 years for the tsunami to fully come, and it's here, well, there in Russia. And some are drowning fast, and some are already dead. In economic sense, it's bankruptcy, that's death. Now, I don't want to talk much about what caused it. We all know the war, the dynamics, the circumstances, the reasons. I've spoken plenty of that in the previous 1887 live streams in the past 3 years. And I want to give you the facts of what's happening today. What's happening now. Unusually hot in Tashkent today. Sometimes I call what's happening now, sometimes I call it the faces of the economic tsunami, but today I think it's more appropriate to use a different name. Economic anti-records. Because that's what they are. And without further ado, let's jump straight to the anti-records. And I would like to talk about what we have today, June 10th, 2025. Number 1, oil export revenues. Russia's largest bread maker, oil, holy grail of Russia. Today, Russian oil, it's called Urals, is trading for $59 per barrel. That's not a lot. Russian federal budget is created with the price of oil, Urals, that's supposed to be at $70 a barrel. And that's 1.2 trillion ruble budget deficit is planned with that price of Urals of $70 per barrel. And at below $60 per barrel, Russian oil export revenues are breaking the anti-record of the last 4 years. And this is just the beginning. Many anti-records, they're just scratching the surface. We start seeing just first steps, baby anti-records, The price of oil, most obviously, it's going to be declining for years now. Because of the geopolitical reasons, the global economic cool down, Chinese economy cooling down, turmoil coming to the United States of America, all that will happen and it will all drive oil price lower. Russia is in for a ride. So that is the anti-record. Number 2, Russia's federal budget deficit is growing at record numbers, or should I say anti-record numbers. Russia is earning more. Russia is earning less, but spending more. So Russia is earning less from the revenues. See the previous item I just talked about, the bread makers shrinking. Oil revenues dropping, natural gas revenues are dropping. But the expenses of Russian state are growing at record numbers. Russia is pumping more and more and more into the war. The federal budget deficit was planned to be 1.2 trillion rubles. The budget was created and approved in December of the last year, 5.5 months ago. 6 months ago now. And in just 4 months, 4 months, just 4 months, because in May, right before May, last days of April, the Russian state announced that the federal budget deficit would be bigger. The new plan was introduced where Russia's federal budget deficit tripled, jumped from 1.2 to 3.8 trillion rubles. Just like that, in 4 months. And this is the absolute anti-record. And this is just the beginning. We will see more and more budget deficit increases, in the upcoming months. Mark my words. The tsunami is consuming everyone. Number 3, natural gas prices for Russian people will increase by, I should say for Russian consumer, for people and enterprises alike, will increase by 21.3%. You see, for everyone in the world, for the countries with market economies, the prices are decreasing because the global prices for natural gas are decreasing. Okay, therefore, the prices for the consumers are also decreasing. And Russia is the only country where if prices of natural gas, global prices are decreasing, the domestic prices are increasing. The only country in the world where consumers always pay for everything. That country is Russia. Why is that happening? Because Russian state has complete control over Russian people. They cannot protest, they can vote and change the politicians. That is all in the past. Now they do as they are told by the state. And the state, it needs more and more money to finance the war. The state out of money. So it takes its greasy hand and puts it deeper into people's pockets. So Russian people will pay more for natural gas, and Russian companies will pay more for natural gas. And natural gas will cost more to the power plants, the power generation facilities. Therefore, the price of electricity will go up. Therefore, consumers will also pay higher prices for electricity. And that is the anti-record. The highest price Russians have ever paid for natural gas. That's just the beginning of the increases. Number 4. First Russian oil company called Rusneft has ever showed loss. 3.4 billion rubles in red. The first unprofitable oil company in Russia ever. That's the anti-record. Number 5. Sberbank, Russia's largest bank, has recorded mortgage default number that doubled in the first quarter of 2025. Nothing like that has ever been seen before. That is the anti-record. And number 6, the same bank, Sberbank, if we take its portfolio of all loans combined, including mortgages, consumer loans, corporate loans, cash loans, everything, car loans, everything. The default rate is at 16% now. Out of all loans combined, 16% have defaulted. That is the anti-record. And the number is growing. We don't have the statistics for other banks, but I take it they are more or less the same. We can talk about the market because Sber is huge. It's like half of the market of Russian commercial banks. Number 7, the utilities tariffs will grow twice higher than the official inflation in the following 4 years. And that's the official data, official information coming from the state. They're actually warning people. They're giving them the schedule of increases for utility tariffs. The information shows, it's a very interesting piece of information. It shows that the state doesn't believe in own inflation because food and utilities amount to a larger portion of the consumer basket. That's how they count the inflation. They take so-called consumer basket and see how the prices of everything inside the consumer basket increase. So if they're saying that the utilities will be growing twice higher than inflation, there's one good question: why? Why do you do that? Well, because they know. The inflation numbers that they give are cooked, obviously. So twice higher the inflation, the increase of the utilities for regular people, that's the anti-record. Number 8, civil construction output has been decreased or has decreased by 1%. Well, it decreased by 1% every month of first quarter of 2025. That's the anti-record. Number 9, sales of new cars have decreased by 25% in first quarter of 2025 compared to first quarter of 2024. And in second quarter, we are seeing even bigger decrease. The sales of new cars getting close to zero, and that is the anti-record. How about that number of anti-records for you, huh? Well, I have so many more. Before I jump to number 10, I would like to take a break. This part of any video on YouTube or any live stream is called the mid-roll, and usually creators give messages from their sponsors. Well, my channel is not sponsored by anyone. I sponsor myself. So I would like to take a sip of this wonderful English breakfast tea. That's what I always drink, my favorite drink. And I would like to thank you. Thank you for sponsoring me by coming here every single day and watching my videos, watching my messages. Thank you, everyone who is a part of Inside Russia community. Thank you for liking, for subscribing, for commenting, for interacting in live stream chats. Thank you for your messages, for prayers, and for your love. Thank you for the coffees that you buy me at buymeacoffee.com, for Patreon and PayPal. I give you a promise that despite being demonetized by Google, and I've been demonetized for about 10 months now, not earning anything from this channel, from Google, I continue my stand against Russian government. I will continue no matter what. Against unfairness, against the war, and I will continue telling you the truth about Russia and the transformation it's going through. You have my word on that. So thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. And now let me resume the anti-records. Number 10, private investments in all industries have dropped down to zero. The only investor left in Russia is the state. The only investor in the state is the state. And the state isn't happy about that because it was investing like crazy into the war economy. I remember I started the live stream. I was telling how the investments were changing from 2022 to 2023 to 2024, and now they're dropping, okay? And because the state doesn't have any money left. So the state is furious. Vladimir Putin is furious. It's a huge problem because investments are actually economic growth. There are no investments, there's no growth. There's no growth, there's decline. Let me give you just one example of why the investors left. Well, the Western investors left, obviously, because of their political stand and high risk assessment. Russian investors, private investors, have left for the same reasons. And there are companies still left who produce things. And they still have money. They earn some profit, and they invest. They usually invest into themselves to expand production, to improve infrastructure, sales force, etc. Guess what? They are not investing. Zero. Imagine that. Well, I'll just give you an example. Someone called me 2 days ago from Russia, and they were soliciting new construction apartments. And a lady was pitching me to buy new apartments in Moscow, in Krasnodar, or in Rostov-on-Don. Hey, why not? I heard her message. I let her speak. And I asked about Rostov-on-Don. And she was telling me how wonderful real estate market is looking in Rostov right now. And there are so many offerings. And the projects in different stages of completion. A project is a large apartment block. And she was trying to sell me apartment blocks that are just starting to be constructed, and they will finish construction in 2029. And I told her, are there any crazy people who risk this much and basically give their money away to be wasted? Because obviously, all these new projects that start right now when you buy apartment hoping you receive it in 2029, of course nothing's going to happen. Of course the real estate market will crash. Of course, at best they'll take your money and run, well, I guess at worst. So same thing with the companies. No one wants to invest. Why expand production right now? Because your company will be stolen by the state in 6 months from now. Or there will be new taxation system, the higher taxes won't be profitable to work, and you'll just close your doors. You'll declare bankruptcies, or there will be a civil war. The risks are incredibly high, so there are zero private investments. Big problem. And you know what? That's the anti-record. Russia hasn't seen anything like that before. The inflation is at the record numbers. Tell you this. That's number 11. The official inflation that the state gives us the numbers, it's 10%, over 10%, 10.5%, galloping. And that's the official inflation. No, of course, we all know that besides the official inflation, there's real life inflation in Russia. Okay, and real life inflation is absolutely different. It's close to 40%, and I believe it's over 40. It's really hard to say, but it's around 40. That's almost guaranteed. Now, for the first time, I'm seeing something incredible in Russia. I'm seeing what's called inflation is being split into. One inflation is for rich people and one inflation for poor people. I don't know if you heard anything like that. Please let me know down below in the comments. But as an economist, I never learned that in school, that inflation is different for different groups, and especially for the poor. Okay, but that in Russia, it's official now. There's inflation for the poor. Well, it's just inflation for the poor is much higher than for the rich, because the poor, they try to save money and they spend pretty much everything for food and utilities, and food and utilities is what is the growing in price the highest right now in Russia. So number 12, retail prices have increased by 1.3% compared to the, retail sales, not the prices, compared to the same period of time, first quarter of the last year. But if we deduct inflation, that's a decline, because even official inflation is over 10%, right? So that's a very large decline in sales of consumer goods. And it makes perfect sense. It falls into this paradigm of current Russian economy. Russian people have started saving on everything that is non-essential in their budgets. What is essential? Food and utilities. Roof over your head, electricity and food. That's all. So, and this is just scratching the surface. That's the anti-record, but we will see more of anti-records like that. Number 13, repo auctions. In other words, printing press or digital printing press. Russian state is out of money. The budget deficit is growing, and the state, Putin, doesn't know where to take the money. So, what does the state do? It prints money, plain and simple. It conducted 2 so-called repo auctions. The central bank basically issued 1 trillion rubles to commercial banks in loans last November. But the loans were with one purpose: to take that money, take those loans, and buy state bonds, state securities from Ministry of Finance of Russian Federation. Take those papers, the securities, and give them to central bank as collateral. And in case the loans are not repaid, then the central bank just keeps the bond papers as collateral. And this is what happened. That was the deal with the banks. So they were two auctions in November, and the central bank said that was an extraordinary measure, and there would be 2 auctions, and that's it. Well, guess what? Let's fast forward to 2025. Repo auctions happen every single week. In the beginning of 2025, they started happening every month, once a month. Now, every single week. They are intensifying, speeding up the digital printing press. And that is the anti-record. Now, number 14, layoffs of federal employees are happening. Moreover, they are intensifying. They started in 2025, in the beginning of this year, with one reason. There's no money in provinces' budgets to pay federal employees. Which employees, you ask? Perhaps the police, perhaps the National Guard, perhaps the KGB are the federal. They're not the... Well, yes, they're the federal, but so are the teachers, the medical personnel, the doctors. And they are being laid off in Krasnoyarsk province, first in Kemerovo province, first. And then this layoff disease is spreading throughout Russia because there's simply not enough money to pay kindergarten teachers. Can you believe that? They're not earning lots of money. Yeah, that's the anti-record. Number 15, wages have started to decline. We are seeing it for the first time in 4 years. But you know what? We are seeing it. And the decline is real. It's happening. There is statistics coming out from headhunting companies. Pardon me. Such as Headhunter.ru. The cuts are happening with the executives right now. Their salaries are being cut, and they're spreading onto the mid-level personnel, mid-level management. And that, my friends, is the anti-record. It hasn't happened in Russia in a very long time. Now, number 16, breakdowns of aircrafts have increased by about 1,000% in 3 years. Now, that is my number, and it is subjective, and I'm warning you, okay? How do I know? I know the statistics for pre-war, for 2021. They were 48 accidents altogether in the entire year. in Russia in a year out of all airlines, Russian airlines. And now I count the accidents in real life, in real time, because I'm subscribed to certain Telegram channels that basically, as soon as something happens with a Russian plane, they give the information. And a few breakdowns, small, sometimes big, sometimes not serious, sometimes serious, a few breakdowns every single day. So my take, it's over 1,000% increase of breakdowns and malfunctioning of aircraft. And that is the anti-record. Number 17, taxes in enterprise income taxes in Russia are down by 19%. And that is data only for Russian provinces, excluding Moscow and St. Petersburg, okay? Because I simply do not possess data for Moscow and St. Petersburg. But in the provinces, despite the state raising taxes by 25% on January 1st, is collecting 19% less income tax, corporate income tax. And that is the anti-record. And I think, again, this anti-record is going to be growing because the situation with tax collection will become worse. Number 18, Russian Ministry of Finance. One of the goals is to borrow money to fill up the budget, Russian federal budget, and to keep the deficit under control. And one of the reasons, one of the few methods, one of the few ways left is to issue government bonds and to sell them to anyone who would like to buy them. Well, no one outside Russia can buy them because Russian securities are banned, sanctioned, and Russian population cannot buy them because they simply don't have money. And Russian companies don't want to buy them because of the inflation and political instability. Most likely, the securities will turn into paper at some point in the future, at some point in time. And the only reason, the only way Russian Ministry of Finance can sell the securities is by offering extremely high interest. And guess what? This year, they are paying off in the interest of previous securities sold in the past as much as they are collecting from selling new securities. That has become a zero-sum game now. So that's the anti-record. I don't remember anything like that happening in Russia. Number 19. The war economy has stopped growing. Remember, I started my live stream telling you how the investments into the production of fabricated metallic items have slowed down tremendously. And back in 2022, Russian economy has been divided in two, virtually. First part, one part was the war economy, and another part was a civil economy. So the civil economy started having difficulties starting in 2023, and it started growing not as fast, and then it started declining. And then the war economy was booming because so much money was pumped by the state from Russia's savings account called the Fund of National Welfare into the war economy, so that the factories that basically were flooded with money. One requirement: produce more tanks, produce more guns, produce more shells, bullets and things like that. So, and then they were taking the money and they were growing. They were building new plants, they expanding existing plants, buying new equipment. Now it's over. The war economy is not growing any longer, and the civil economy is in big, big decline. And that is the anti-record. And the last on the list, but certainly not the least, around 3 million Russian people, the best of the best, I call them the cream of the crop, have left Russia, emigrated, fled, exited. Most have left due to political protest, fear for their lives, for their freedom, and fear to be mobilized. It was Russian men first, and then Russian women, their families with children, women, their wives, and children followed. I know what I'm talking about. I've been a part of this exodus. I have seen tens of thousands of people around me in the same situation, the same position, leaving my country. And in 3.5 years, I estimate, and it's my number, and I base it on different reasons. My number is around 3 million people. Both men, women, and children have left Russia, and they have settled in other countries, in Central Asia, in South America, in Europe, Australia, all over the world, really. And these people, Russia, have lost them. And that's been a huge, huge hit to Russian society and Russian economy, because the ones who left, they are, like I said, cream of the crop. They're with higher education. They're with lots of energy, self-confidence, skills that allow them to survive in new places. They're highly adaptive. They're open to new cultures, and they have good hearts. So it's a huge hit to Russia in general. So I've given you 20 anti-records. And again, I'm just scratching the surface. First of all, there are even more anti-records, and I will be talking about them in the future. And these ones that I just told you about, oh boy, they're going to be growing. They're going to be even bigger anti-records, and I will continue monitoring, and every 3 or 4 months, and I'll be giving you an update of what's going on with each one. Thank you so very much. That has been my message for today. And before inviting you to the live stream chat, we'll talk about 20 minutes. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. I would like to remind you that besides YouTube, I also run a Patreon account of Inside Russia, where there are 2 types of content presented. First is the news, daily news. I select 9 daily news that I find important, that I find that tell a lot about what's happening in Russia, and news, the type of news you will not find in any mainstream media. And I also do a daily snippet, more than a news, less than a live stream, a thought that I would like to zero in on every single day, that, in my opinion, explains Russia, what's going on in Russia well. So I urge you to go and check it out. Consider becoming patron. Get access to all the information you need to become expert on Russia. Everything you wanted to know, but you didn't know where to ask. Now you do. So thank you, friends. I am turning the live stream chat on. Just give me a second here, please. I see a coffee someone from Norway bought me. Thank you so much, friend. There's a new feature that YouTube just unveiled. That's live chat summary. I really don't know what it is. So the live stream chat is on. Welcome, friends. Fantastic to see everyone. And I would like. Thank you, new supporter from Norway. I missed your name. I'm sorry, but I'll send you a message. Just give me a second to open the live stream chat window. I usually do that in a separate window. Pop-up window, it's much easier for me to do, much more convenient. While I'm doing that, I'd like to thank the moderation team. The mods, you are awesome. Lorna, Mommy K, Bob S, Harry Potman, Amir Fazad. Thank you, friends. Thank you. You have helped to make Inside Russia community what it is. Everyone, thank you for coming. If you want me to notice your message or question easier, please put in all caps and put Inside Russia after that sign so I see it highlighted in orange, large orange box. If I don't answer your question, I go over it. It doesn't mean it's not because I ignore you. It's because I never ignore anyone. It's just because I missed it. Keep on posting your question. There was a guy yesterday who kept posting a question about Gerasimov doctrine and the violence happening in Los Angeles. Is there any chance you can repeat your question? You know, I looked it up. I understand what the question is about now. Okay, I can answer that today if you are present in the live stream chat. So before I go to the first question, friends, well, first of all, usual suspects, thank you for coming. And please be respectful. Don't insult anyone and do not discuss U.S. politics. It's not really the place to do that. Crazy Good Nabend, Harry, Lorna, howdy friends. Ferrari guy, long time no see. Whoa. Terry, Leitmotiv, howdy. Baker Stock, Lights Creek, Woody, Ron Gravel, Aaronka, Pamela, Stefan, Patskali, Uri Kwak. Long time no see. Hey friend, how's your movie going on? I talked about you in Tashkent Breakfast Club and your project. Ronnie, G Coffee 613, Tarpon, Florida. Tarpon Springs, Florida. Michael Silberg. Okay, first question from Michael. Is it possible the utilities price are lower for connected people? No. Just like the prices for low in the secret retail shops. No, I haven't heard of anything like that. All consumers pay the same. All companies pay the same. It depends on region, province. Some provinces have higher prices. Some have lower. Well, not prices, but tariffs. They're called tariffs. Some have higher tariffs. Some have lower tariffs. I know a great deal about electricity tariffs because I used to sell power plants and I used to sell small power plants, gas piston engines, power plants, Yanbacher engines, and we were actually doing an economic model, a financial model of return on investments and so forth. And it depended a great deal how much electricity cost in what specific province. Some provinces, let's say, 6 kopecks per kilowatt, and some were like 3 kopecks. You see, twice as much. For example, in Far East, they always paid more for some reason. But anyway, Sam the Legend K, good to see you. Petra Olsson from Sweden, Andreas Benz, howdy. Yasin, hello, good to see you. Terry, when do you expect the Iron Curtain? 2025. Well, it's not going to be like, boom, and it's there. Yesterday there was nothing. Today we wake up on this Iron Curtain. No, they are descending it law by law. You know, oh, they slowed YouTube. Oh, they're turning off the internet. Now this crazy law that is being discussed that young couples, they're going to shut off their internet from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. So they, copulate more and have more children. Then they probably gonna do it for the rest of Russians. Then they probably gonna make everyone switch to special telephones, special messenger. Putin just signed the law of the special messenger. Okay, that's coming. You see, it's stepping stones, bit by bit, but the speed that they're getting this thing, it's intensifying. So I expect a great deal of the Iron Curtain go down in 2025. Doug Shepard, 20 anti-records is that bad? You know what? Honestly, I was counting them, and I probably, if I sat for another few hours, I could have come up with another 20 anti-records. That'd be 40, okay? And that's probably in reality is even more. But you know what? I'll save that for the future because I'm pretty sure this is a new format of videos I'd like to make. If you like it, I will continue doing it. First of all, I can come back to these 20 in like 3 months, and I can tell you the developments, because what I don't like is to say something and forget about it, okay? When I make forecast, I come back to make assessment. Was I right? Was I wrong? Okay. I make a series of forecasts January 2nd, January 1st, and I come back December 30, like 29th, 30th, and I take every forecast, I break it down and say, okay, this is where I was wrong, this is where I was right. I like to be held responsible for what I say, and I hold myself responsible, okay? So that's what I'm going to be doing. How close is Russia to hyperinflation? It is in hyperinflation now, because hyperinflation, I believe, oh gosh, is it 40%? Russia is over 40%. Real life inflation is over 40%. Last year, most experts informally agreed that the inflation hit 38%. This year, the inflation has intensified, so it's over 40. So it is in a land of hyperinflation. Officially, it's galloping, because whatever is above 10, it's galloping inflation. Bob, good to see you. Thank you. I got the message from you today. Read it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Andy Jones from the UK. Howdy, Andy. Per Haglind from Stockholm, Sweden. Hello. Denise Abbott. Good to see you. Beth Olson. All the usual suspects. The pillars of Inside Russia coming. Fantastic to see you, friends. Thought it started now. Beam, no, it started about an hour ago. John Richards. Ragnar Andersson from Finland. Peter Vanderhoevel. Peter, thank you so much for being such a great member of Inside Russia. We've been in contact with Peter for, since I fled Russia in 22. So was a little late, but just wanted to let you know, keep up the good work. Привет из Нидерландов. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sending my love to the Netherlands. Shiva is in the house from Belgium. When you started your channel, was it directly related to the special military operation? No. I started back in 2018, and I wanted to show Russia through my eyes, because it was misunderstood by most foreigners, and it was portrayed not the way I saw it. So I started just... My channel was very positive. I wanted to share my love for Russia with everyone else, and that's exactly what I did through my videos and through the live streams. And this is how I met the moderators. In the live streams, I would just once a week I would take everyone on a walkthrough. The longest one was 6 hours in Rostov, right? And we were just having a good time. And Lorna was there, Mommy, and I believe Bob S was there, and then Harry definitely was there, Amir, and many others too. And this is and I was showing my love for the country. I showed everyone places that I liked, interesting places that they wouldn't see anywhere else. Um, and then it changed in on February 24th, 2022. On February 23rd was my last happy live stream. My mom's birthday and my entire family got together, and I live streamed for like a couple hours. And it was a fantastic day. It's one of the best days, really. And the next day, the war began. Um, Broski Bear, will any of Russia's current allies turn on them? Well, I don't really know what's going on with Viktor Orban, but he started saying nasty things about Russia. And I saw a couple articles in the Russian news like, is Orban turning on us? Things like that. So that's, that's you know, possibly ally number one. Turkey used to be ally of Russia. Now it's not any longer. It's turned against Russia. And I'm pretty sure sooner or later, the rest will follow. Perhaps Russia will only stick with North Korea, or North Korea will stand by Russia. Amir, in the eastern provinces, do they have power plants, or do they have to send it over the power lines long distance? No, no, no. They have power lines everywhere. In the Far East, they use coal as primary fuel. In the western part, the central European part of Russia, they use natural gas. And that's just the proximity of resources. In the east, they have plenty of coal from Kuzbas, anthracite of highest quality. Um, and in Russia, and the density of population is not that great, so they don't care about air quality in Siberia, in the Far East, in the Urals that much. And in central Russia, Russia is much more densely populated, so they use natural gas to have air cleaner. That paradigm was designed in the USSR in the 70s, okay, and was implemented in the 80s and in the 70s. Greg Savarizi, good to see you. What do you make of Viktor Orban's recent pro-Ukrainian statements? I don't. I haven't had a chance to look deeper into them. Perhaps for Friday news update. I don't know. Cannot. Lucas Smoke. Good to see you, friend. Thank you for coming. Mikhail Olsen, thank you so much. Chris Angel, what steps would Russia need to take to prevent collapse? That's easy. Although at this point, a lot of things would need to be changed. First of all, Russia would need to stop the war and take all the troops and move them to Russia, to Russian territory. It would need to give all the lands back to Ukraine that it has stolen. It would need to sign a peace treaty and give guarantees, some kind of guarantees that that's not going to happen again. Would have to agree to pay reparations to rebuild Ukraine, would have to repent and admit the responsibility and admit guilt, not guilt. Admit its responsibility. That's how to say it, right? Needs to identify all war criminals and send them to for just and fair investigation and court. And it would need to come to the international community and say, hey, you know what? This happened, okay? We have changed. This is what we have done. Please forgive us. Please take us back. We're willing to do this, and we guarantee you will never do that again. And then certain economic policies would need to be applied. It's not a brainer. It's very easy, actually. Hey, put me in charge. I could come up with these policies in like 4 weeks. Okay, I would get a team of good economists, and I certainly wouldn't do it by myself. I mean, I know what to do, but that's a lot of work. But I would get a group of good economists, and they would come up with a plan how to rebuild Russian economy over time. That's easy, from 2 to 4 years. But before even you need to go through the steps I just told you about. Yurai Kwak, 5 short documentaries about people who lived under occupation, released available on YouTube as well. Shooting full movie, 65 long, was nearly done. Um, I see that приюсит. День добрый. За таких русских, как мы, еще надеемся. Well, thank you so much. I understand your message. I read. I understand the language. Russian in English, but please write in English, because we have a rule that all the comments must be in English. But I appreciate приюсит. I appreciate your I appreciate your words, and I agree with you. Russia should be like Phoenix, burn down and be reborn from the ashes. Just Terry, if Russia is running out of money, how it will continue the war? Okay. How to give you an example? Let's say you live in a city, right? And you go to a local farmer, a farm nearby, and the farmer grows everything: cows, chicken, sheep. He has milk, he has butter, meat, and then you go to him and buy, or he brings things like food, and you buy. And all of a sudden you run out of money, but you have a gun, and you are tight on money. And then the farmer comes in and he says, well, this is the price for milk. And you say, well, I don't have it. I have a little bit, but not much. Take it. And he says, well, I'm going to sell it to you. You take out your gun and say, yes, you will. Yes, you will, buddy. Or, make your choice. He goes, oh, okay, I'll sell it to you. And then he goes to the farm and he doesn't come back to sell you anything. Or you jump into the car, you drive to his farm, a few thugs along with you with guns, and you point your gun and say, well, you know what? Now you come and bring us food, and that's going to be free for us. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? And I say, well, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do, but your milk, your meat has to be at my door like every 2 days. And, you show him you mean business. He's got kids, he's got wife, he's got, family and everything, and he's afraid. He doesn't have gun, he cannot protect himself. And you take complete control over him and his farm, and you just threaten him with death, okay? And that's how Russian state will be acting. It's acting like that, okay? All it needs to do now is to close the borders, so Russians won't be able to leave. Because at this point, they're still free to leave at will. They can not let leave some people, but majority can leave, okay? And that's going to change. That's pretty much, I hope I explained it well. The state will say, come in and say, you know what? now you work for free and you get a little bit of food every day. You have a ratio. And it's happened before in the USSR. I mean, Jill, thank you. Russian economy is not just degraded, it's collapsed. Piotr Mazurik, greetings from Poland. Thank you so much. Sending my love to Poland. Deborah from sunny California. What do you think Russia will resemble more, China, North Korea, or Cuba? Well, first of all, we got to talk about Cuba. Things are so much worse than when I visited Cuba last time. I think it's going to be a mix of North Korea and Cuba. Definitely not China. Couple more questions and I'll wrap it up. Craig from Texas, heard everything is bigger and better in Texas. Kev Sullivan, hi Konstantin, are small farmers in Russia making records or anti-records on the sale of produce? Sale of produce? I'm not sure what do you mean. They're making anti-records at the sale of milk. They are making anti-records on the sale of potatoes, that's for sure. Cabbage, onions. How about that for anti-records? That's just for starters. Russian agriculture is one big anti-record. That deserves a separate live stream. Terry Carter from Pulaski, Virginia. Heard something about the Russian population has dropped down to the same amount 200 years ago. No, I don't think so. But I have thoughts on the population decline. I will make a video in about 2 weeks. It's planned to be released. Ferrari guy, if you missed it, NFKRZ explained issues he had with Google and monetization about 4 weeks ago. Good reference for eventually fix for you. I watched his video. My problems are a little different, but yeah, video definitely helpful. Thank you. Broski Bear, shout out from Charlotte, North Carolina. Shiva, Russia is in hyperinflation and China is in deflation. How could this work? I don't understand the question. There are two countries, separate economies, completely different stand in the world, both economies, completely different goals, completely different circumstances. I mean, why would you compare them or link them? In America, all food created by farms. I thought produce is something grown. Okay. So, well, I answered before. Sasha Zotova, my favorite Russian YouTuber. I've never heard of her. Cloud Days. Well, good for Sasha. Before I sign off and invite everyone, Sam K, is it true that Putin cat suffers from PTSD? Anyway, before I invite everyone to join to pray with me, I'd like to make a little announcement. We will be having another conversation with Jonathan Fink of Silicon Curtain tomorrow, and most likely he will release the interview tomorrow evening, London time. So tune in. I will make a community post, but it's going to be an interesting conversation. I always enjoy conversations with Jonathan, so it's going to be something to look forward to. Friends, please join me in prayer. Thank you. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for food that you placed on our tables and roofs you've given over our heads. Thank you for the loved ones in our lives. Thank you for our families and our children. And please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful. And give us wisdom to raise our children in the way that when they grow up, they will just make this world a better place and fix everything that we've messed up. For now, please have keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, I'm asking for Ukraine. Please stop the bloodshed. Send the country peace and make everyone's wish come true and hear everyone's prayer and answer their prayers, please. The country has suffered so much. People have suffered so much. Please send Ukraine peace, relief. Reach out and touch the hearts and souls of everyone who is responsible and capable of this decision to stop the bloodshed. Reach out and send love into their hearts, mercy, forgiveness, soften their hearts, please, so they make that decision. And please help my country, Russia. Assemble your army of strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael in shining armors. And send everyone down to this earth to get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, who we know by their names and by their faces. Dear Lord, have them get rid of the demons. And send your angels to help good Russians to run the country, to make it peaceful, loving, and normal. A part of the world, a normal part of the world. Thank you. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Help everyone who is in danger of any kind, who is seeking asylum of any kind, running away from danger and evil. Please help all the single mothers and fathers who are raising their children and having a hard time making their ends meet. Please send relief and assistance. Please help those who are helping Ukrainians and help Ukrainians who are currently under attacks from Russian weapons. Please make everyone safe. And help those who are hungry, sick, addicted, scared, homeless, jobless, cold, depressed, crying, feeling backstabbed, going through divorce, not seeing their kids as they want to. Feeling that everyone's abandoned them and God is not with them any longer. Please reach out to every person who is in need of help and touch their hearts. Dear Lord, show them that you are still with them. You have not abandoned them. You will love them. You still love them, and you will love them for forever. Please help everyone who is in need. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together and pray. Thank you for this community. Thank you for everyone who's praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I am asking you to help some people. They are Greg. Please send recovery and strength to Greg and his family and have Greg feel better and so he can go home and live with his family happily ever after. Please help Lee and Brenda, Uli Yun, Daniela Fromm and her family, Janice, Rose Halbert Bronicky, Karsten, Teresa, Ron Bazoid, Ann Larson and her daughter Hannah, Jeffrey S., Mark, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Lisa, Gabin with Gary, Harry, Terry, John, Linda, Paula W., Dennis, Jason, Susie, Tim, Dory, Rhonda, John, Taylor, Wayne, Darla, George Ruberty, Pamela, Meta Spencer, David Porter, his family and everyone in Chernovtsi, Leif, Randolph, Grace, Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natasha, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey, Liz, Ron, Liz, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Mike, Petra, Joseph, Millie, Jodes, Melissa, Philippe, Eileen, Highwayman, um, Victor, Derek Martinez, Jeff Gibson, Denise Abbott, and Renate. Dear Lord, please help people in California who are in trouble, in danger. It doesn't matter who they are, just anyone who needs your help. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, friends. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me a chance. It's my honor to have you here, host you at Inside Russia. Thank you. I would like to remind you that you're awesome and you rock. And tomorrow I will tell you a story of Senator Kato, who I repeat his phrase for after every single time I sign off and end the stream. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll tell you a story, but for today, I'm asking you to repeat after me what I say out loud as you can. Carthago delenda est.